You know, I'm glad you remind me every week to hit that button, by the way.
Well, in long story short, that's why I only get tomato soup that's Campbell's brand.
Right. Well, ever since that listeria outbreak, I don't know how you can go any other way.
You can't tell me it's good with club crackers if you don't regularly eat club crackers.
Fred, I will eat club crackers with anything, and for that, I make no apologies.
I didn't know you were a fucking millionaire, so that's my fault.
I just love when people make apologies for make no apologies for innocuous stuff, like they're making a heroic statement.
I like when people say, this doesn't matter what your affiliation is. This is funny. And it's like a picture of like an aging George Bush. And you're like, That's not funny. That's
actually that one is funny. Are you talking about the meme that says it's got a picture of George Bush at the beginning of his term, and then at the end of his term, Barack Obama at the beginning of his term, at the end of the term, and they've all aged terribly. And then there's the picture of Bernie Sanders, and then his age picture is the Crypt Keeper. Is that what you're referencing?
Obviously, it's exactly what I'm referencing.
You know, though, that's bipartisan, though. I mean, they got both, and the only reason they picked Bernie Sanders is because he's so old. You know, if there was a Republican as old as him, I'm sure they would have used him as well.
Hey, you know what I just thought about?
What?
I think we could Periscope this. If I put one cord from, I can't Periscope from my iPad. Are you fucking kidding me?
You know what? You could also pair. You see these headphones here. What I did when I Periscoped, when I had enough room on my phone, I took one of these and then I just taped the little headphone thing right here by my receiver, and
but I hear you, but my headphone jack has 1, 2, 3. Is that 8 fucking ports? So I could just go audio in, right?
I don't know. I don't have audio. I don't have audio in on my phone, so I don't know.
No.
On that ear.
You do. You have audio in because like headphones that have built-in microphones on them have audio in.
Oh, do they? Well, I tried that with my headphones, and with me it didn't work. But that doesn't mean it's not going to work with you. I would say try it. Like, you want to try? Are you trying it now, or are you talking about for future episodes?
Well, I think I got the fucking cord right here. I think I could do it.
Well, worst comes to worst, we just have a Periscope with no sound.
Here, do we got 2 seconds? Let me test this real quick.
Yeah, sure.
So if I do this, and if I do this, if I turn this on, yeah, okay, looking good.
Yeah, how are you going to know if you're getting sound to it, though?
Well, I don't know. Fucking subscribe to me or something.
Oh, well, I can't. I mean, I gotta, again, like, the audio for us. We can't.
Testing the weigh-in. This is just exhilarating for the YouTube audience.
Yeah, it is. It is. Shout out to Wenchy and Paul.
So, is there a way to turn it around? Because it's double tap to flip camera.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, okay. So
what are you gonna do? Are you gonna hold it like they're all episode, or do you have like something to mount it on?
Well, I could mount it on something.
Yeah.
Okay, and it goes horizontal. Okay.
You know what? I'm looking for like an old iPhone that I could put Facebook Live on. So like you could Periscope from your thing, and I could Facebook Live from my thing.
Well, hold on. Be quiet for 1 second, because I can't tell if it's sending or not on audio. Oh, there's 3 people watching me. Hey, 3 people. Can you hear me clearly? Is a question I would. What they probably can't because I have the audio all the way down.
Give me a heart for yes.
Yeah. Give me those hearts for yes if you can hear what is going on here. I don't think they can.
Yeah.
No, they say they can. Now, can they hear you though, Mike? Because you're on the other line.
People of Periscope, can you hear me? I'm going to talk like I'm talking to someone who doesn't know English. I'm just going to speak loud and slow, like that makes English easier to understand.
You see this here? I don't know if it's working. They say they can. You're very soft. So how would I remedy that? So I'd have to turn up your input.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, this is all a test.
Would that screw up our recording?
No, because it's audio out from the computer.
No, okay.
Hey, watch this. I think I got it fixed. So let's we're gonna max you out on sound.
Okay.
Oh, fuck with that. All right, that's not the right noise.
Hi, Fred's Periscope friends.
All right, people are literally saying Uncle Manfred on here, so it's people I obviously know.
Wait, what's the story of Uncle Manfred? Hold on.
Brothers on whatever. I used to produce this podcast, which I'm super proud of.
So the Brolo shows.
The Brolos, right. So the Brothers Will Never were, they did a show on Austin or Dallas or San Antonio or some shit for a long time. And then they went from that to working with us at the Mayhem Network, which was fun. It was fine. But then from there, they went to Talk Steel, which was also cool and fun. But then they made the big break. They went to the local CBS affiliate.
920, right?
Yeah. And they kill it. They're in my opinion, pound for pound, they're one of the best programs in the area.
Are you saying that because they're listening or what?
No. Like, there's not a ton of dudes I have respect for, and I have respect for these dudes.
Yeah.
Hey, give me some hearts if you guys can hear Mike. Mike, do your stand up.
If you can hear me, show your titties. Any titties, Fred? Any?
No, just somebody thanking me for something. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still barely on hearing you.
Yeah.
Try this.
Yeah.
You know what?
This Periscope session is just turning into a giant Fred Slow circle jerk. An Uncle Manfred circle jerk.
I'm working ideas here, man. Just bear with me. So
that's okay.
So
we're utilizing social media, Fred.
Oh, I got a plan.
Okay. We're trying to leverage our own network.
All right. I might be blowing out speakers.
Okay.
Right now.
I'm just trying to see if I can hear myself looping back a little bit.
No, you cannot. You're lying.
Okay. Well, as long as it's not showing up on the recording, I don't care.
No, my recording clears day.
Okay, good.
Hello? What is going on here? So I can't chat. That's okay. So there's literally a lot of people that are kind of tuning in for this test, and I feel like kind of weird about it.
Yeah, I feel like we need to be giving them something a little more, especially since they probably can't hear me here.
They say it's just barely louder. I'm really going to max out this headphone amp.
Yeah. Brolos, if you could hear this, show me your titties.
I feel like this should be acceptable to where they're at. I don't know.
My wife's probably upstairs listening to me to say, show me your titties. She's going to come down here with a rolling pin.
Right. So this test is really just coming to, it's a whole slam thing on the chat here. People are telling me a little louder. They're telling me to go F myself. People have with emojis drawn titties into the chat room.
So they can hear us then. They can hear us.
It looks that way.
All right.
So we're going to test this another time and refine it. But now the weigh-in theory is going to be Periscope Live.
Okay. Well, yeah, just keep the Periscope going.
Oh, just leave it up right now?
I guess. That's fine. I mean, it's up to you. We got no one watching on the Google Hangout.
Yeah, I mean, I would say right now it's very shitty. I would say it's not good right now. There's no I didn't.
Well, if you want to refine, maybe you should refine it because I do hear myself echoing back every now and then.
People are saying put headphones. I'm coming straight from the headphone jack.
Yeah.
So I don't think that would need this. All right, this is gonna need refinement, but this is a good test, and then we'll have it for next week. It'll be perfect. We'll have a mount. I'll get a better cord.
Well, why don't we you remember how we used to do stuff on Sundays? Why don't we on Sunday get together sometime Sunday morning and dick around with this?
And legitimately, I feel I'm looking at the feedback now on it, Mike. On the it looks like it is working pretty well. So we just need a better preparation for what we're doing.
Great. All right.
Cool. Weird. This is one of the weirdest little.
Yeah.
We're gonna figure it out, but not right now, but soon. So.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
There's regular speaker for him. Shut up. All right, I'll figure. Hey, love you guys. Check you later. The way in Periscope. Not now, but
thanks for the thanks for the titties. Did they hear me say thanks for the titties?
Yeah, I heard you say thanks for the
good.
titties.
Thank you. Good. Wait, how many people were watching us on the Periscope?
It was up to 10 before I hung up.
That's good. I feel like we've done a whole show now.
We have. How do we have jobs in this?
I don't know. Because. Well, I know I'm here because I didn't want to take any math classes in college, so I had to get a communication degree. That's how I ended up here. I don't know.
This and I think this audio cord is shitty. But like I said, we'll have it figured out.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it's cool. Okay. Well, I guess we should start, huh?
Yeah, we should get rolling.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to The Weigh-In with Mike Parson.
What are you cackling at, fatty?
Fred, I do hear myself coming back.
You do?
Yeah, I can hear the way. I can hear the Open coming back.
Hey, you know what? Try now.
Okay, let's see. Hold on.
You're listening to The Weigh-In with Mike Parson.
What are you cackling at, fatty?
Okay, that sounds pretty clean.
Yeah, you want to know what it was? They left the fucking speakers on.
Oh, that must have been it.
So
Okay.
that was for sure what they were hearing was the speakers. So it wasn't internal.
Okay.
But we'll figure that out. I promise we'll figure it out.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I believe if you promise, I believe you. Okay, here we go. For real now. For real now.
You're listening to The Weigh-In with Mike Parson
What are you cackling at, fatty? Too much pie, that's your problem.
and Fred Slow.
Anybody want a peanut?
On demand 24/7 at weighinradio.com.
Just get ready for work, 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 work.
What?
You see me, I be work,
Huh?
work, 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 work. You see me do me dirt, dirt,
These
dirt,
kids and their
dirt,
devil
dirt,
music,
dirt.
Fred. I can't understand what they're saying, which means I'm probably officially old because I remember when I was a youth and all the songs that I knew the words to, people my age and older would be like, I can't understand the kids' music, and now I can't understand the kids' music, so I must be old.
I didn't know that you could throw shade over Twitter until I saw the most epic Twitter battle of all time earlier this week when Wiz Khalifa took on Kanye West in what I'm going to call a matchup of the minds, Mike.
Yeah, what happened? Because all I saw was a whole bunch of people screenshotting Kanye West saying, you're disturbing my creative process. And like Kanye West, he's interesting because, you have people who actually like him. Then you have people who hate him. And then you have other people who just like him because they want to seem like they quote unquote get it. And all my friends who want, like him because they want to quote unquote get it, posted a screenshot that said, you're distracting my creative process. And I guess that was the end of the feud. What was the feud over to begin with?
Well, it started like this. So there were some cryptic tweets that had some initials in them. Maybe they were KK. Maybe that stands for Kim Kardashian. I don't have that answer, Mike. I don't own these Twitter accounts. With that said, I think College Dropout, the mixtape version, was an excellent LP. And I think Kanye West is a really talented individual.
A lot of songs you could tap your toes to, no doubt about that.
Hey, when Jesus was walking, I was walking right with him because I would have followed Kanye.
How many times, Fred, have you used the bathroom at somebody's house and read that poem about two footprints in the sand? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know it. I don't think I grew up in the ritzy neighborhood you did.
In like everybody's bathroom, there's that it's called footsteps, and there's it's a man and Jesus are walking on a beach, and then there's one set of footprints, and the guy says, "Hey Jesus, what gives?" And he says, "I was carrying you." You haven't read that in a bathroom? It's like
no, I failed to communicate. I have a gigantic fear of using other people's bathrooms.
Oh wow! So you just if you're not at home, you're one of those people that just walk around all bound up, huh?
I one time left a New Year's Eve party at 11:38 because I couldn't make it.
Wow. Like, well, I mean, but did you make it? If you know what I'm saying? Like, did you get home in time?
Yeah. Well, as an adult, yes. I've been doing this for a long time. But like I said, I don't like the idea of blue wallpapers. I don't like fit. There's things I'm not about. Okay. And one of those things is being in other people's bathrooms.
Now, is that because you're afraid of other people's germs, or are you afraid that people are going to know that you destroyed a bathroom and be known as the guy who destroyed neighbor's bathroom for the rest of your life?
My specialty commode that I purchased from the Home Depot is rated for individuals of 250 plus pounds or more. I don't know if that's true everywhere I go.
So you're afraid that other people's
porcelain
won't be able to accommodate your weight.
A lot of people have fears that are unjust, and this is one of my more prominent ones, that and quicksand.
Yeah, well, and luckily, I don't think that you're going to find both of those in the same place.
If the day ever comes, that I would call the worst day of my life.
You know, Fred, I one day, because of fear of embarrassment, I think I ruined some middle school kids' life.
In what sense?
Well, right after I graduated high school, I was working at a pizza place, and the pizza place would go around, like we were the pizza place that had the contract with the school to bring the school lunches. And one day after making a delivery, I had to make another delivery. And as I was making my delivery, some kid walked into the bathroom, and he tries to start talking to me, and I'm like, oh man, well I don't want people to know the guy that just dropped off their pizza is in the bathroom. They may not want it.
Yeah, no one wanted to know that. Yeah.
So he goes, "Is this Steve the new kid?" And I said, "Yeah." So he probably went around to all the kids in school and said Steve the new kid was in the restroom causing havoc. And that probably followed that kid around for the rest of his life.
Well, and if that's the worst burden you carry from high school, then you're going to be okay, because the nickname I had in high school is also the password to get onto the website.
Wait a second. Wait, which website?
Our website. So if you're at weightinradio.com and you can guess my username and my childhood nickname, then you can successfully log in and see our dozens of comments, maybe a half dozen.
So anybody who went to school with you theoretically has our password right now.
If yes, I would not theoretically, actually, which is different. That's Neil deGrasse stuff, but yeah, it's different.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to have to change that immediately. Unless we can find a way to block every kid you went to elementary school from listening to the show, either on 590 The Fan or on weightinradio.com.
Hey, and we have a bunch of new affiliates, which we haven't given a chance to give a lot of love to, but I know you have all the details on them. Mike, where's the weigh-in going? We know where it's at, but where are the possibilities?
Yeah, we just picked up this week caveradiosports.com, good friends of ours, an online station in Detroit, and another brand new podcast network. A couple of guys who I've done their show, and we've had a lot of fun. The guys from a podcast called Pretending to Amuse started their own podcast network, pendulumpodcast.com, and we debut with them in February.
No, I love that. Yeah, those dudes are funny. So this is going to work. This is going to be all right.
Well, I want us one day. I want us to be as ubiquitous as superimposed porn on the internet, and this, these are the first steps toward that goal.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm not really following you at this point, but I agree that we should be on the internet.
Yeah, that's true. If there's one place we need to be, it is the internet. And I got to ask you, Fred, are you ready for some Pro Bowl football, baby?
Hey, I'm glad you were the one who asked me, because I was about to ask you. Yes, hard yes, Mike. Bring on that hot Pro Bowl action.
Let me ask you, Fred, when was the last time you were actually excited about an all-star game?
Yesterday, whenever I realized it's the last time I'd ever see my boy, Charles Woodson, play football.
Okay. Well, okay. Other than that, Fred, the correct answer is when you were 10. The last time you were excited about an all-star game was when you were 10. To me, all-star games seem like such a waste of time. I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge people who are the best at their position in their given sport, but the Pro Bowl's become a joke. I mean, you look at the quarterbacks who were originally selected to the Pro Bowl, only one of them is actually going. That's Russell Wilson. Everyone else, you can understand Cam Newton, obviously, because he's playing in the Super Bowl, but every other quarterback is sitting out the Pro Bowl. You look at some of the fan voting gone awry. If you remember last summer's Midsummer Classic, due to a rig of the fan voting, the American League All-Star team, the starters almost consisted entirely of the Kansas City Royals. And this poor John Scott guy from the NHL is just being put through the ringer. A lifetime goon on the ice. He actually seems like a decent guy off the ice. Somehow fans got together, decided to vote him as captain of the All-Star team. And instead of the NHL just rolling with it and laughing with and taking a joke, they have uprooted this guy's entire family and forced the Montreal Canadiens to take him. So they take him from the southernmost western team in the NHL, and they ship him all the way to practically Siberia. I mean, that's as far apart as two teams could be geographically.
Derek Jeter's the Players Tribune posted a real good article earlier this week. And what the Players Tribune is, if you're not familiar, familiarize yourself, because this is the forefront of communication between athletes and their fan base. I think if we're going to, not to get too distracted, but if we're going to talk about the NFL Pro Bowl or All-Star games, I think this kind of thing maybe they want to incorporate a little bit more is some sideline interaction with their athletes, maybe do a Periscope sideline, maybe do a live tweet, maybe do something like that where you can reach your favorite superstar or your favorite athlete in a way. And the Players Tribune is an unedited, untainted means of communication. And what happened earlier this week, John Scott, NHL All-Star John Scott, told his story on the Players Tribune, Mike, and I'm not sure if you read it, but it is an absolute testimonial to his story. I mean, specifically this year, but his story, like in the NHL and in this process he's gone through with the trade and the attention. And I'm not going to say it's unwanted because it's going to build his personal brand, and I'm sure he understands the importance of that. But this has been a roller coaster of emotion for John Scott.
Yeah, right. It's not necessarily unwanted, but it was unasked for, right?
Yeah.
He was just the guy, trying to stay employed, trying to contribute to a team as much as he could. And one of the excerpts from this article just showed how far the NHL would go to, I don't know, protect the sanctity of the All-Star game. I guess one person from the NHL called him up, tried to talk him into, saying thanks, but no thanks. And the person said, do you think that this is something your kids would be proud of? And then he wrote, that's when they lost me. That was it right there. That was the moment, because while I may not deserve to be an NHL All-Star, I know I deserve to be the judge of what my kids will and won't be proud of me for. And honestly, Fred, I mean, this was a troll job by a lot of hockey fans. And
Yes.
It's kind of mean-spirited toward John Scott. That being said, I think that he has handled this beautifully. And 3 weeks ago, I never even heard of John Scott. And now I'm a John Scott fan because he's being a real good sport about this.
Yeah, and I'm marking out for him a little bit too. There's another quote in there, and it's a real neat piece. It's a transitional piece. So it sets up the story of the time he was traded, and then it tells his story. So please go check that out. It's theplayerstribune.com/a-guy-like-me. But the GM for the Coyotes, or I assume it's the GM from the wording here. It says, John, quote, "They'll never let you play, John. They're never going to let you be there. Not a guy like you." And then John Scott goes on to tell his story of what a guy like him is. And obviously it's written in a way where it's supposed to be. There's a lot of relatable content here. There's my stories in here, your stories in here, Mike, the listener stories in here. And check this thing out. A guy who was too big, too slow, not good enough, and how he's kind of overcome those obstacles. And now he's taken what you just referred to as a troll effort from an NHL fan. And I do have a disconnect with an NHL fan. An NHL fan is filled with a message and a passion about hockey that whenever they communicate it to me, it's just words. It falls deaf to me. And I feel terrible that I'm not able to embrace hockey in a way that their passionate fan base is. I feel left out. With that said, the attempt on John Scott to make him a martyr or a pariah or whatever terminology they want to use, he's going to overcome that thing, and he's going to be a better individual, and his family is going to be better because of it. And I love this whole process for him, the individual. I hate it for the NHL. I hate fan voting. I hate what it's become, but he is a dude that I think is going to be all right.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I think that through this whole thing, you can't help but to like John Scott. But I also think it's illustrating the point that maybe fan voting should be tweaked or done away with altogether.
It would be hard for me to argue with that. The way that it can be cheesed and manipulated, it is no longer a fair assessment of favorite players or fan interaction.
Right. To be honest with you, Fred, it's an outdated practice. Because before the internet, how would you vote for your favorite player to make the All-Star game? You'd actually have to go to a game, pick up a ballot, you'd punch it, and then you put it in a box around there. Now, yes. I mean, everyone has a computer. I'm sure that even if they do log IP addresses, it's very easy to work around it. Maybe they keep fan voting, Fred, but they go back to the way they used to do it. with the paper ballots. I don't know. Or just skip it all together and just have a bunch of great minds of whatever the sport is get together, kind of like a committee, like the football playoff committee, which was wacky at times, but ultimately got it right. Or maybe just the coaches, just have the coaches and the players, because nobody knows who's at the top of their game, like the people who are actually playing the game.
Well, and I think it's a Larry Bird quote, and if it's not, forgive me. But Larry Bird said, "It doesn't matter who all-stars are, we know who can play." And that's the thing about these kind of leagues and game recognizes game. So no, all-stars are not necessarily the best players. The players know who the best players are. And if you were to leave the appointment or voting up to the players and individuals involved, I would accept scouts, GMs, those kind of things.
Right.
If you were to leave it to those individuals, I think the rosters would be built considerably different.
I think you're right. Coming up, Fred, we have not even touched on the cluster that is the NBA All-Star Game. Who's coaching, who's not coaching, makes no sense. The Cleveland Cavaliers, right? They're the Donald Trump of the sports world. They've just made everything into a bizarre world. We'll talk about that next. It's the Weigh-In, 590 The Fan, 590thefan.com, caveradiobroadcasting.com, pendulumpodcast.com. We're going to have to shorten this up somehow.
We need a button. We're going to button it. But right now, 590 The Fan and 590thefan.com.
Okay, I got to blow my nose because I noticed when I look up, there's a big giant booger right there.
Leave it. Keep it. Use it.
Oh, no, it's distracting me. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Did it. Did it. Did it. Did it. Did it. Did it.
All right.
I entertained the audience while you were gone. Oh, you can't hear me. I entertained the audience of the YouTube stream while you were gone by doing what I'm going to call an a cappella version of Crazy Train.
Let's hear it.
No, I already did it. They already heard it.
All aboard!
Done it.
All
Done
right.
it. Done it.
All right.
Done it. What do we come back with?
Actually, once you get past that riff, it's kind of a lame song.
I'm going off the edge in a crazy train.
That's not bad, actually.
I don't think it was good.
I mean, well, you're your own harshest critic.
Are we doing this thing? What's up? What are we doing? NBA?
Yeah. Why don't you start off talking about how ridiculous it is that Luke Walton's not coaching the All-Star game, and then we'll go from there.
Don't fucking spoil it.
Oh, well, I mean, it's just the... Here we go.
Oh, sorry.
What were you going to say?
Nothing ever.
Okay, good. Well, not good, because I don't want to do the whole show myself. Here we go.
Now, back to the Weigh-In.
I'm a little worried about being a slut.
WeighInRadio.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Lower Marion High, your starting shooting guard for the Western Conference NBA All-Stars, number 24, the Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant will not be coached by Luke Walton.
Now, this year, Fred, let's just use this year as a vacuum.
Yes.
Who is skills-wise? Who is the weaker All-Star game participant? Kobe Bryant in the NBA All-Star game or John Scott in the NHL All-Star game?
Okay, Kobe is struggling. There's probably 700 NHL players. There's probably 350 NBA players. I'm going to say by percentages, John Scott is weaker, but it's not a lot. It's not by a lot.
If there was an all-star game of making rookies sit on the floor so that you have a seat on the bench in your street clothes, Kobe Bryant would be first team all the way.
If there was an all-star team for like giving sweet high fives to the opposition, like bossing around rookies on your team, like being awful, yes, then I agree. Kobe would lead it. But I'm a gigantic Kobe mark. We've talked about this. I love the Black Mamba. I grew up watching him.
You love that stupid Dear Basketball poem that he wrote. It's bound to be in a shoe commercial after he retires, though, so that Nike can maximize the heartstring effect.
Yes.
But if said all-star team existed for bossing rookies around and making him sit on the floor, that team would also not be coached by Luke Walton.
No, there is a travesty in There's a travesty in all-star game sports, Mike, and it's not hockey. It's not John. It is Luke Walton getting snubbed from coaching the NBA All-Star team, and they're going to give it to John Popovich because they can't give it to Steve Kerr because he coached it last year, and we want to keep things fresh because we got fresh jerseys all the time. But Popovich don't want to do it. He don't care about this at all. He wants to be 26-0 at home. He doesn't give no rats. Give it to Luke Walton. Hey, let Luke bring his dad. They can do it together. I'll tune in.
Yeah, if there is one person who I would bet money on just hates all-star games, it would definitely be Greg Popovich.
Pop wants nothing to do with all-star games. You know what Pop likes during all-star games? 3 days off.
My question is, why hasn't Greg Popovich been fired, Fred? He lost by 30 points to the Golden State Warriors, just like David Blatt and the Cleveland Cavaliers were beaten. Yet Greg Popovich still has a job.
Here's the list of teams that have lost to the Golden State Warriors. Every single team.
I know.
They're on their pace right now before the All-Star break is better than the Bulls that went 72-10.
Well, I got to say, Fred, I am looking forward to the coaching matchup between Greg Popovich of the West and Kobe Bryant of the East.
No, Kobe is in the West. You're talking about LeBron. LeBron is coaching the East.
Oh, did I say Kobe Bryant?
Yes.
Crap. Okay. Well, hold on. Let me redeliver it then, because it's a great joke if I tell it right. Okay. Ready, Fred?
Here's the snippet for Twitter. They're gonna love this.
Right. All right. Shut up, so that we can get a clean cut here, Fred. I, for one, am looking forward to the coaching matchup between Greg Popovich of the West and LeBron James coaching the East.
Ooh, shade thrown. You're the Wiz Khalifa of sports talk radio. Dang.
But yeah, you're right. This year, the NBA All-Star Game comes at a very, very weird time. Of course, Luke Walton, who, it's guaranteed that Luke Walton and Steve Kerr will not be on the same coaching staff next year, because Luke Walton, all he did while Steve Kerr was out was lead the Golden State Warriors to the best start in NBA history. You're right. I don't know why they couldn't have Luke Walton coaching. He's not technically a head coach, but Steve Kerr has only been back for how many games? And I got to be honest, Fred, at the beginning of the season, I felt kind of bad for Steve Kerr, because I felt like the longer he was out, he was going to end up being the odd man out. And, they always say that you should never lose your position due to injury. But I think Luke Walton is suffering from the Phil Jackson effect, right? Phil Jackson's a great coach, but he did it with great players. And Luke Walton, he got the Golden State Warriors off to a fantastic start, but he did it with great players. But, coaching superstars and coaching, just because you have an immense amount of talent on a team doesn't mean that you're going to walk scot-free to victories.
Well, and the neat thing about Luke Walton's story is Luke Walton is a second-generation guy. Bill Walton was very successful in the league, and he made things happen. Well, so what does that have in common with his core players? Well, Steph Curry is a second-generation guy. Klay Thompson's a second-generation guy. He's able to go to the well on his resources and relay that to the guys that have to be his best players. What did Klay Thompson score last week in the third quarter? 27 points in the third quarter. I don't think Steph Curry has seen the court in a fourth quarter all year. I don't know if that's a fact, but he's coached in such a way to where these guys are excelling and they're answering to to his leadership, and And it's ridiculous to me that Luke Walton's not coaching the West. It's ridiculous to me that the backup point guard from the Lakers, Tyronn Lue, is coaching the East. Like, who's been the head coach of the Cavaliers for about 10 minutes. He's head coached the Cavaliers 10 minutes longer than me. That's his qualifications to be the head coach from an All-Star game. I think the NBA is missing the boat here a little bit. I think if you were to give Luke Walton that opportunity, like I said, bring in Bill. I mean, if we're already just going to play with the rules a little bit, bring in Bill, mic them both up, and you're going to have a real fun, entertaining product for the 2.5 hour, 150-point game we're going to watch.
Yeah, and that whole Cleveland Cavaliers situation is so weird. I mean, it's obvious that LeBron James is the actual coach and general manager of that team. Tyronn Lue has been his guy since the beginning. David Blatt, when he came in, when he first signed with the Cavaliers, it looked like his team was going to be Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and a young Andrew Wiggins. And then, of course, they traded Wiggins away, and somehow I don't know exactly. Wait, did they trade Wiggins for Love? Anyway, LeBron James was okay. Either way, whether I have my transactions straight or not, LeBron James was not in the picture, and LeBron James gets what LeBron James wants, and I'm not as mad at LeBron James for this as most people. Because let's think about it. Okay. Number one, LeBron James leaves his hometown, goes down to Miami. He's public enemy number one. Till he comes back to Cleveland, people love him again. But I think that all that goodwill is going to go away if LeBron James does not bring Cleveland a championship. And I've been reading multiple reports, and of course there's that one side that says David Blatt coached him to the best record in the Eastern Conference, and he got jobbed. But then there were other reports that said during crunch time, he would look like a deer in headlights, and either LeBron James would call the strategy or Tyronn Lue would step up and call the strategy. So if you feel like your team is a championship caliber team, you're winning despite your coach, who may become a liability later on, then a change needs to be made. But you better be sure that you're right.
I'm trying to run the numbers off the top of my head because they're not easily locatable. But I think Paul Silas, Mike Brown ended up getting jobbed pretty quick in LA. He was just not a fit there either. Spoelstra, Blatt. What we're talking is Tyronn Lue maybe LeBron's fifth head coach in 12 years or so, 13 years. It's not the best. It's not the best track record. Is he a quote unquote coach killer? Is that what you're trying to say, Mike?
Maybe. I mean, the only two coaches that come off the top of my head who he seems to have run out of town was Mike Brown and David Blatt. But I to be honest, the only other person who's coached him that I can think of was Spoelstra, who was with him through his entire tenure. I'm not sure if I would call him a coach killer, but I definitely think he has a lot more leverage when it comes to decisions on who, quote unquote, coaches that team, which may just be LeBron James telling him, relaying the message, or the coach just calling people around and saying, okay, everybody, listen to LeBron. He definitely has more influence over that part of the game than probably any other player in history.
I would agree. I think there's a handful of guys in the whole world that could coach LeBron. I think Mike Krzyzewski's an obvious one. I think if Cleveland had early in LeBron's career been able to pull Mike Krzyzewski away from Duke to Cleveland, and I'm talking about a 19, 20, 21-year-old LeBron, he would have never left in the first place, and Cleveland would have attracted a lot of guys who would have been willing to play with LeBron and play for Mike Krzyzewski. You would have had a team that would have maybe won 10 championships in a row. The other guy's Pop. I think Greg Popovich could do it. He's he's a leader, and then obviously Phil Jackson would be your third guy. So if you could have paired that kind of leadership with that kind of talent, and that kind of talent that you can check, I don't think LeBron James has a bigger personality than like a Mike Jordan. I don't think he has a bigger personality than some of those guys, Kobe, but because of his skill set and when he's able to go to the well, what he's able to do on the court, he demands all the respect in the world. And if you don't give him a world-class head coach, then he should run rampant. So the 2-3 guys you could have had in Cleveland never went out to get. Help me out. What's the name of the owner in Cleveland? The hothead.
Oh, Dan Gilbert.
Yeah. So Dan Gilbert. He tells everyone he's got all the money in the world. Should have maybe ponied up for it and brought in a guy that could have done it for your organization. I think that guy would have been Mike Krzyzewski. I don't know how you ever would have got him away from Duke, but if you would have got somebody on his level, the story in Cleveland could have been considerably different for the last 10 years.
Yeah, going back to you saying that you're not sure if Kobe Bryant has bigger, or LeBron James has a bigger personality than Kobe Bryant, if he had a bigger personality than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, of course, is always going to be the top name and personality. But when Michael Jordan was in the league, players weren't brands yet.
Right.
Obviously, he was the trailblazer of that. And I think what Michael Jordan did starting 20 years ago kind of led the way for LeBron James to be as powerful as he is now. And this may sound stupid, but I think a lot of people are under the impression that, Tyronn Lue he's not running that team. He's just a figurehead, and LeBron James is running that team. Maybe LeBron James doesn't need a coach. Maybe he just needs somebody, he needs someone wearing a suit to stay out of his way or just back him up. Because it was real interesting. One of the stories I read is that Tyronn Lue pulled Kyrie Irving aside. He pulled Kevin Love aside and said, hey, guys, let's focus on winning and not on your brands, which is good advice. But there's no way in hell he would ever have that same conversation with LeBron James.
Well, to my knowledge, and this is off the top of my head, the last player coach in the NBA, I think it was in 65 or 66, and it was Bill Russell. Bill Russell took the reins from Red Auerbach for the Celtics, and Bill Russell is absolutely on the same level as LeBron. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is just a poetic position for Tyronn Lue where he's not actually pulling the strings. He's just holding the strings when LeBron's not using them.
Right, exactly. I mean, Tyronn Lue, after his first game, which was a loss. I don't remember off the top of my head who they lost to, but his first game was a loss. I believe it was against but he came out and said that his team needs to be better conditioned. They need to step up their transition game. And it's funny, almost immediately the night after, they were just fast breaks, slam dunks running the floor. And it seemed to be a very, very quick transition. And you're wondering, okay, is that Tyronn Lue making this call, or is it LeBron James telling Tyronn Lue to make this call? And he says, whatever you want, Bron.
And the first loss was to the San Antonio Spurs. So that's kind of an understandable one. They have a historic record in the West that's only dwarfed by an even better historic record from the Golden State Warriors. But I agree, guys like LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, these guys are open up players. They want to fly. They want to use the whole court. They're dudes that you want to get out and move a lot. The team's going to be very successful. They're going to make it all the way through the East. They're going to go to the championship. They're going to do it with Tyronn Lue or without Tyronn Lue. No offense to you, big dog. But whenever they get to the West and they're either matched up against the Warriors or the Spurs, it's already been proven they struggle with those ball clubs, and it's because they are both well coached and well managed. Go ahead.
Right. Now, the one thing I can see happening with the Golden State Warriors, though, Fred, and I've been watching this, and it seems like as they become more and more confident, Steph Curry is taking more and more risky shots. He's he's shooting the ball from way beyond the 3-point line. He's taking half-court shots, and he's making them right now. But let's say they cool off a little bit, or Steph Curry goes through a slump. Eventually, these circus shots he's hitting from all over the floor, if he doesn't stay at this high level, eventually they're going to become liabilities. And you wonder, okay, are the Golden State Warriors, are they as good and consistent as that record-setting Bulls team, or did they just get really hot? And if you get really hot, the worst time to get really hot is at the beginning of the season.
I played growing up. I didn't play collegiately. I didn't play at a pro level. I coached for a little while. I know a little bit about the game. With that said, a jump shooting team can lose on any given night. That's a given, Mike. But a jump shooting team can beat any other team going if they're dialed in, and that's what the Warriors have been doing all year. If you have a team that can hit consistently from 10 to 25, and you're going to be able to spread the floor out in such a way where those things have to be contested and those things have to be challenged, then what you're doing is you're opening up the rest of the court for the three-point opportunity for the inside option. And I know finally, because we're up against the break, if Steph Curry wants to shoot from the logo, let Steph Curry shoot from the logo, because he's not going to miss on any sort of consistent basis.
Yeah, as long as he continues to play at the high level he is. And, this is me, Fred, that's just the cynic in me. Obviously, he hasn't shown any evidence of cooling down, and everything he's shown has hinted towards this is just how good he is, and it's not how hot he is. So, like I said, it could just be my doomsday conspiracy theory, but that's a scenario I can see happening, which opens the door for Cleveland and the LeBron James coach Cavaliers into an NBA title.
Well, and I think just in closing, the thing about the Warriors that's so intimidating, let's say Curry can't go for 45 one night. Well, it happened just earlier this week. Klay Thompson went for 45. So, hey, Tyron, you prepare anything you want to stop to stop Seth Curry, you can do that. But then you have to stop Klay Thompson. And then after that, it's just going to move down the line. They're a team that doesn't, to me, have any seeable weaknesses. And the two losses they took earlier last week, the loss to the Nuggets on the 13th and the loss to your Pistons on the 16th, those are two games they weren't supposed to lose. But then to come back and win against, the Bulls, that could have been a loss there, to beat the Pacers, to beat even the Heat. The Heat are a competitive ball club. Those wins were big. So they make up for those losses. On pace right now to have 74 wins. I think they can do it, but I'm not betting on it, but I think they were a real possibility.
It's the weigh-in. 590 The Fan, 590thefan.com.
I like that story a lot. I like I love everything about that team.
What, the Warriors?
Yeah, the guys they got doing it. I know they're like privileged kids who came up like in multi-million-dollar home and all that, but they're the role models you want for kids. I got a 12-year-old nephew who just loves Steph Curry. I think it's perfect.
Well, and you know what? I mean, Steph Curry, obviously, there's a lot written and shown about his relationship with his dad and his brother, but they seem like a genuine family. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
And there's that cute, like even Chelsea knows who Steph Curry is because of Riley. And because I showed her that video, there's that little kid who said, "Riley, will you be my Valentine?" And then Steph Curry says, "I'm not sure about that, but it was nice to meet you." It's just, I mean, he's kind of like the anti-Cam Newton right now. Which
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I think a similar story is in the NFL, there was Jonathan Martin, who came up like in an affluent home in the Stanford area and was just a dude who excelled at athletics. But I mean, he was a soft dude and he was a washy dude and he was quick to throw his teammates under the bus with that whole Miami situation. And I feel like Steph Curry, a guy who came up probably in the same kind of circumstance, is like a role model type guy. Like I just something I'm about. I just like it a lot.
No, I'm with you. I mean, it's very hard. It's very hard to dislike the Warriors, because they're not cocky. That's the thing. You know who I really like on the Warriors personality-wise too? And I'm probably a little biased because he went to Michigan State, but whenever he's on SportsCenter, he's just real likable, is Draymond Green.
Oh, yeah. He's making that penetration to the next level right now.
Right. And I don't think anyone was really checking for him coming into the draft. I don't think anyone thought that he was going. I would say that he's not quite Scottie Pippen.
No, Thompson is Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, but he's not. I mean, I guess.
Coach?
Yeah, I mean, he'd probably be the Rodman, but I mean, he can play offense too.
Well, Harrison Barnes is the Rodman.
Yeah,
Harrison Barnes is the guy who's going to battle a little bit, but yeah, it's a weirdly assembled team, man. Like I don't know. I just, like I said, crazy about it. Just crazy about everything they're doing. So,
all right. Let's talk the Cam Newton comments, and then we can talk about what we hope to see in the Super Bowl. That went 18 minutes, so I'm going to keep this. I think I'm going to keep these last two segments like 9 and 9.
That's fine.
So they're going to be shorter. All right, here we go.
It's you.
Okay.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
I wash myself with a rag on a stick.
Weighинradio.com.
Well, all this talk about All-Star Game, Fred, we haven't even touched on the big game that's looming in a couple weeks. The St. Bernard versus the Jack Russell Terrier. My favorite February Sunday tradition, the Puppy Bowl on Animal Planet.
Just stop it. Stop it right now.
Can we can say Super Bowl, right? As long as we're not like selling a product.
Yeah, Puppy Bowl jokes are the new dad jokes. Like
Dang.
people have been telling Puppy Bowl jokes since a joke my dad would make, which I don't have right now. But
yeah, you know, Fred, if you're gonna throw that kind of shade at Puppy Bowl jokes, you better come with it. All right.
I do think we can talk about the Super Bowl as long as it's not in like an ad chasing. Right. But let's just call it the big game.
Right. Like as long as we're not like go to Mike and Fred's Super Bowl GoFundMe because
you cannot do that because
yeah.
But hey, Fred and Mike want to go to the Super Bowl. No, but if Fred and Mike want to go to the big game, support that. Pledge that.
Our big game charity drive to benefit our bank accounts. We'd have to say that. But of course, the matchups are set. We're going to have Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers, the future face of the NFL, versus the past face of the NFL, Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. And Fred, I've got a lot of friends who are Broncos fans, and I'm happy for them. But I have to say, watching the Broncos, to me, is so boring. And if the Broncos win this Super Bowl, they're probably going to win it with a defensive battle, and it's going to be a snoozer.
Well, that defense they have in Denver it's one for the ages. It's adding up in a way where you saw, what did they hit Tom Brady last week? Was that 23, 24 times they hit Tom Brady or something?
Yeah,
some ridiculous
more times
number
than he's ever been hit in his life.
It got his offensive line coach fired number. That's how many times they hit him. Right. But yeah, I agree. It's going to be it's going to be a heck of a game. I like the idea of putting Cam Newton, who's arguably the best quarterback in the NFL, up against like a Von Miller, who's obviously the best defense in the NFL, and just kind of watching those dudes battle with each other.
The one thing I noticed about Denver's defense is that Denver's defense can make any offense look like Denver's offense. And like I said, the Broncos bore me. I don't have this romantic vision of Peyton Manning winning his last one, riding off into the sunset. Let's face it, at this point, Peyton Manning is nothing more than a game clock manager, which actually at this point of his career might help because he's performed poorly in past Super Bowls back when he had all of his physical skills. And I think that obviously his whole career, one of Peyton Manning's great advantages has been his intellect and his football intelligence. And now that he knows that he doesn't have the physical skills to depend on, he's going to depend heavily on his football intellect and play a very boring game.
Can we talk about the balance of these two teams, the balance of the league real quick? 5 years ago, Mike, both these teams were drafting in the top 5. I'm going to take you back to the 2011 draft. Drafting number 1 overall, the Carolina Panthers. You know who they took 5 years ago?
Cameron Newton.
They did. Drafting number 2 in the 2011 draft. You know who's drafting?
It wasn't the Broncos, was it?
It absolutely was the Denver Broncos, and they took Von Miller right after they took Cam Newton. Von Miller, arguably the best player in the draft that year. Cam Newton, obviously the best quarterback. And these two teams in 5 years have turned around their organization away where they're at the big game, right? We have a parity in this league, and it's the way the teams are run, the way the teams are organized, the way the teams are coached. And that's where I think it comes in big here in this game, is you're going to give 2 weeks to NFL-capable defenses and offenses to prepare for each other. I think this one is going to go down to the wire, Mike, and Vegas agrees with me because the overtime odds are like 7-1, and they haven't been that good for a Super Bowl in like 4 years or something.
Yeah, and I do have to admit, Fred, I think most people have figured out that I am unashamedly a member of the Carolina Panthers bandwagon, and the Cam Newton bandwagon. Um, I watched the Panthers, and it looks like the only team that's had as much fun getting to the Super Bowl in history may have been the '85 Bears.
That was my exact thought.
But it looks like being on Cam Newton's team is a lot of fun. And a lot of times, if a team's having a lot of fun, they're probably not. Luckily, that wasn't on camera. Fred just tried to dab. What did I say a couple weeks ago, Fred? Nobody looks cool dabbing except for Cam Newton.
Check out the YouTube stream for my dab.
Actually, you're going to have to do it again because. Oh, hold on.
Oh yeah, no, because it wouldn't have been on camera because I don't have my voice.
There it is. It looks like you're checking if your deodorant's holding up.
Well, and there, let's talk about that real quick. What's the prop bet on number of dabs for Cam Newton? Well, I'm going to give you the over under. I'm going to say 4 on-screen dabs, over or under. That's 1 per quarter.
Yeah. Well, then that means it would be a very high-scoring game, right? Does Cam Newton dab when he doesn't score?
Well, let's say at the end of the game they're up big and he's just on the sideline just dabbing nonstop.
Right. Right. Or like he scored 3 touchdowns himself. He's dabbed, and then at the end of the game, he gets like a key first down that runs the clock. There's your 4th dab right there.
Yeah, and we're not talking replays. We're talking live action dabs.
Right, exactly. Right, because replay's cheating. Yeah, it have to be live action dabs. I would say over 4. I would definitely put it over 4.
The only thing more polarizing than Newton dabs is Newton had made some comments last week. I don't know if did you catch any of these?
Yeah, he said he was being asked about something at Media Day, and he said, "That's a trick question, but I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm an African-American quarterback, and that scares a lot of people," talking about his detractors. And, of course, anytime anyone says anything about race, Fred, I've noticed something. The majority of people who say, yes, it is about race, are black people. And the vast majority of people saying, nah, that's ridiculous, it's not about race, are white people.
Well,
and
I was going to say, I think it's good that he didn't want to dab around the question. And he just, I'm sorry, he didn't dance around. He just jumped right into it. But no, I think you're right, Mike. I often, as most racially charged conversations are, they're charged by the race involved, right?
Right. And I've come to the conclusion, Fred, that I'm not equipped to call balls and strikes on whether something is racially motivated or not, culturally. All I can do is speak for myself. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes it is about race, and sometimes it's not. And a lot of times it's both, right? Because, the people who say it's not about race, they point to nobody says anything about Russell Wilson. He's a black quarterback. People are threatened by folks who are good at something and not humble about it. Cam Newton is the best player in the game right now, and he's not afraid to admit it. And that rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But on the other hand, people are throwing out the example of, okay, well, you get mad at Cam Newton for dancing. You don't get mad at Aaron Rodgers for the discount double check. So I think with everything else, it's not a part of the pun, black and white answer. A little from column A and little from column B. Everyone's kind of right and everyone's wrong to an extent.
Well, in the part that's polarizing is that the narrative, just like politics, just like religion, just like all those things that they tell you never to talk about publicly, you can kind of make the story say whatever you want. If me and you wanted to do an hour straight on why there aren't enough African-American quarterbacks in the NFL or college, we could do that and it would be a strong show and we would have many facts to support it. Let's flip that and reverse it. Let's talk about how if you include this year and the 3 previous years, 4 Super Bowls in a row, we've had an African-American starting quarterback for those teams. So I would say right now that no, maybe we don't have enough percentage-wise, but the ones we do have are quality, right? If it's Kaepernick or if it's Wilson or if now Newton, these guys should get into the league. I get it. In what would that have been, 88, when Doug Williams won with the Redskins? It was a story. That was absolutely a story at that point. But in 14, when Russell Wilson won, I didn't really hear the same argument. And I think the fear or the exoticness of it has worn off a bit for me, but I'm not Cam Newton. I'm not on that side of the fence. So I don't necessarily know if that's the way the story is perceived by all parties involved.
Right. And you know what? There are people out there who don't like Cam Newton because he's black and he's confident, right? But there's a lot of people out there who don't like Cam Newton just because he's cocky. And you're absolutely right. In this day and age, Fred, where if you have an opinion on anything, you have half the internet and a cable news channel to back you up. So reality is all about what facts you want to skew. But I think it's short-sighted to just dismiss it and say that a lot of the unfair scrutiny coming Cam Newton's way isn't racially motivated, because you don't know that. You don't know what's in the hearts and the heads of other people. But it's all, you also can't say just because someone doesn't like Cam Newton, they're racist.
No, well, and I agree. And that I think there's an envy to it. And I don't necessarily make that envy a skill set. I think that envy is projection of life. We kind of loosely talked about this a couple weeks ago with Conor McGregor, but I'm going to bring him back into this conversation. Conor McGregor, UFC fighter, he's a polarizing guy. A lot of people hate him and a lot of people love him. And that's the same thing with Cam Newton. And we were talking about, and he's got this fight coming up with Rafael dos Anjos, and he was, when he talks about an opponent or to an opponent, he doesn't degrade that opponent. He doesn't promote him. But he spews confidence. And
right.
There's nothing more intimidating than a confident individual. I've been in the radio game a long time, and I've had a lot of people tell me how much I suck. And that does not faze me because I've heard it so often. What does faze me is if I were to walk in a room and sit down next to Bob Costas. That would faze me because he spews confidence because he's been in the game so long. And I think Conor McGregor, Cam Newton, LeBron James, these guys have a spot and they understand it, and that makes them a target for derived hate or directed hate.
Right. And that's exactly what it is. People want humbleness. And as I get older, Fred, I get more annoyed at fake humility than I do genuine swagger. Because to me, you can tell when somebody is trying to be humble in a very self-congratulatory way. Like, look at me. I'm very good at what I do, but I'm no hero. La, 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 la. And you can tell they're full of crap. And, the image that Cam Newton, whether you think it's genuine or not, the image Cam Newton is projecting is that of positivity. If you really think that, if you think Cam Newton's genuine, then you connect with that. But let's say for a minute he's not genuine, like some people say. Okay, if he's not genuine, he can put out any persona that he wants. And he chooses to put out a positive persona. He chooses to put out a persona that, yes, he talks trash and dances, but he also, gives footballs to kids. He helps out in the community. He speaks to kids about, telling them to stay off drugs and stay in school. If he's such a phony and it's so contrived, then can't you give him a little credit for at least making that phony persona a positive one?
Well, I would think you would be able to, in theory, but we're not comparing apples to apples. We're comparing apples to something that's very different from apples. And let's make it just real big picture real quick. Let's go to the Intimidator, Dale Earnhardt, right? Mm-hmm. Dale Earnhardt was a guy who brought it on the track, right? He was an intimidator but outside of that, he's a real humble guy. He came up with North Carolina. He's the guy you drink sweet tea with, and I think that mindset of a superstar is clouded, especially those today who have an opinion that's voiced, has clouded, and not Dale Earnhardt specifically to everyone in the world, but that type of athlete has clouded the what is okay is perceivable. What is okay is acceptable discourse in public. I love the athlete of today. I love pop music. You know me. I'm into stuff that trends. Mm-hmm. These athletes are good because of how they play, and they're great because of how how they draw attention. I'm just a huge fan of this whole situation.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying, as I said before, it's kind of like the old face of the NFL, which was Peyton Manning, and Cam Newton being the new face. And I've got to say, if Cam Newton is the new face of the NFL, if the future of the NFL, the model of the successful franchise is the Carolina Panthers, I'm fine with that, because not only do I get the feeling that his teammates are having the most fun that they've ever had playing football, playing with Cam Newton on both sides of the ball. I mean, you see him; he's out there mixing it up and hyping up both the offensive and defensive side. It's also been a hell of a lot of fun to watch. I mean, if there is a Carolina Panthers game on television, I'm looking forward to that game, because it's the closest to watching. It's the closest to watching a Madden game in real life.
Well, and this game is, I mean, this is the spotlight. It's Super Bowl. It's watched by more people than anything else in the whole world ever. You're going to put Cam Newton in front of half the world, literally, and he's either going to pull through and he's going to back it all up, or he's going to fall to the old sage and the teacher leaves the master and Peyton Manning. I love it. I love the storylines. I love the complexity of it. Either way, you're going to have one fabulous story and you're going to have one heartbreaking moment, and I'm going to soak both of those up, and I'm just going to love it.
Right, and as boring as I've felt the Broncos have been, and as painful as it has been to watch Peyton Manning this year, the meeting of him and Cam Newton is fascinating, because number one, Cam Newton seems like he has a bulletproof psyche. It seems like every situation he's in, it seems like he's been there before, and success is no big deal to Cam. He glides to it. On the other hand, you have Peyton Manning, who a lot of us, myself included, thought that after he got his obligatory yards to set the yardage record, wasn't going to see the NFL football field ever again. And then when he came back, you thought there's no way that he's going to start in the playoffs. When he starts in the playoffs, there's no way that he's going to win a playoff game, and now he's in the Super Bowl. So you got Cam Newton, who seems like he just glides to success at every level, against Peyton Manning, who we've counted out so many times, and he's proven us wrong time and time again. To me, at this point, that's the most fascinating storyline.
I like that we get 2 weeks until the Super Bowl, because it gives us another week to talk about this, because there's a lot to say. I know we're up against our last break. We're up against the end of the show. Real quick, Mike, because we're at the end of the show, I just want to throw out some prop bets to you. Do you prop bet? I don't mean to get distracting. Which team has more sacks, Denver or Carolina?
Denver, easily.
Okay. Understood. Passing touchdowns for Peyton Manning, 2, over or under? No,
I'm going to say
1.5. Sorry.
I'm going to say under.
Okay. Number of David Bowie covers at the halftime show. Over under 0.5.
Wait, who's playing again?
I don't know, everyone.
I'm going to say 0. I'm going to say under.
I just made that one up. Also, all right, which is greater? Donald Trump tweets about the game or about the commercials? Which is greater?
Wait, you're talking about, is Donald Trump going to have better tweets about the game or better tweets about the commercials?
Quantity only. Hurry up, right at the end of the show.
The game, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna say commercials. So we're on opposite sides of the fence. Next week, make sure you tune in. We're gonna do a ton more Super Bowl talk, because we're gonna be excited that day. That's game day. So I mean, we're gonna bring you the final tidbits you're gonna need for your friends, interesting facts, and so on and so forth. I'm Fred Slow. You are Mike Parsons. You listen to The Way In on 590 The Fan and 590thefan.com.
Yeah, I looked down and it was like 10 minutes past, and the conversation was going. So I said, you know what? We did 15, 18, and 18. We'll just keep it going.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So I'm done here on this. I'm going to save this.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did 3 segments, but we did 15, 18, and 18. So that's
like I said, we have some freedom.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to render this to you. The good energy today. A little off track, but that's all right.
Really, I didn't think we got off track too much.
No.
I think well, there was a lot that I wanted to cover within the NBA segment. So I think we did a good job of winding through it somewhat cohesively.
I agree.
Sometimes when we're like throwing out all these names and stuff, I'll brain fart. We were talking about, there was a part when we were talking basketball where I was having a hard time coming up with Steph Curry's name.
Oh, that happens to me too.
Yeah.
Specifically on him because he's because I'm in love with him. So
Right.
I blush.
Yeah. Well, and like, there's certain things that I make a point to commit to memory, and he's been so all over the place that I think what happens is like I'll push certain stuff out temporarily,